Hello. So the Christian Parapsychologist Journal is 50 years old this year, and as such, we're hosting an online anniversary conference for anyone interested in learning more about the interface between Christianity, parapsychology, and the paranormal on June the 28th. And one of our guest speakers is Matthew McGuire, who will be speaking on catharsis, photesis, theosis, Christian wisdom for psychic development. First of all, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Matthew?
Yes, thank you, Matt. I have been a Christian for my whole life, but for the past 10 years, I've had a particular interest in spiritual gifts. And I had sort of a history in the neo-Pentecostal movement. And then in the last 4 to 5 years, I've had a new interest in parapsychology. And I stumbled upon the church's fellowship and the Christian Parapsychologist Journal, which I feel has really filled a needed niche in this area. My own background is in biblical studies. I got my undergraduate degree from Crandall University. I studied under some great Old Testament scholars, Dr. Stephen Dempster and Keith Bodner. And I followed up on that biblical studies degree with pursuing a scientific parapsychology certificate from the Ryan Education Center, where I'm also serving as a teaching assistant for the intro course. And one of the things that I love to write about, whether it's in the book that I put out or the blog articles that I put out or the interviews, is what is the intersection between the findings of parapsychology and then the wisdom tradition from the Christian faith.
Thank you. That sounds really good. So, do you have any particular research interest or specialism that you can tell us about?
Absolutely. I'm always the most interested in things like healing and remote viewing, the sort of things that Christians have grabbed onto as spiritual gifts that the Holy Spirit uses, but also to look at scientifically what do we know about these that we can empirically verify, and is there any way in which these things can be developed? And
Mm,
this sort of leads into the topic of my presentation. The premise is we live in a day and age where the internet has made the world a very small place. So someone I live in rural Maine at the northeast of the United States, and maybe I'm in a little bit of a backcountry, but someone from my area can go learn about the Kundalini yoga chakra activation techniques of India just through using a webcam and a computer. We can learn the shamanistic techniques of northern Siberia to enter altered states of consciousness.
mhm,
You can go to a Pentecostal meeting and you can get baptized in the Holy Spirit and start prophesying. We live in a day and age where there has never been more access to
mm,
developing psychic or spiritual gifts. And so, my question is, what does the Christian wisdom tradition have to say about these? I think that these are latent human abilities. I think this
mm,
is one of the contributions of the field of parapsychology, that these are not, perhaps sometimes they're an intervention of spirits, but I think we have enough information now to know the human person, psyche, soul, or mind, whatever label that you prefer, has certain preternatural abilities. And the question is, what kind of path should we follow if we want to explore these or develop these? Are they always too dangerous? That's been one perspective, or are they
mm.
something that we should just jump headlong into? In some of the more very enthusiastic New Age proponents would advocate for something like that. The the premise of my paper is that the mystics of the Christian tradition, and I'm going to focus especially on Eastern Christianity, they've been dealing with these spiritual gifts for over 1,000 years, 1,500 plus years, going back to the Desert Fathers and beyond. And they have developed a whole system of spiritual maturity that goes hand in hand with spiritual gifts. And one of the dangers that they've found is if you try to unlock all of these powers of the soul or powers of the psyche without maturing spiritually, then you could be in a dangerous place. On the
Mhm.
other hand, many people are so afraid of these things that they say we should never get involved with things like remote viewing or any of that stuff. And even some critiques of the Pentecostal movement has said, hey, that's all demonic. You're messing with psychic powers. That's evil. So I think there's a middle road, and the title of my talk is Catharsis, Photesis, Theosis. This comes from the wisdom of the elders and monks of Mount Athos, which they claim to preserve a spiritual tradition going back over 1,000 years. And this is really the equivalent of the Western Christian tradition of purgation, illumination, and union.
Hmm.
It's the idea that we have to purge away our egotistical, sinful desires and make way for the illumination or the photesis that comes from the word light. It's in the Greek. We have to make way for that for the Holy Spirit to work the spiritual or psychical gifts in us. And ultimately, there is a tried and true path that combines spiritual techniques with spiritual disciplines. And when you have the techniques without the disciplines, then there are a lot of negative things that can
Hmm.
happen. I'm going to be drawing on the work of Kyriakos Markides. He is a world-renowned author. He's a professional sociologist, but he accidentally became an anthropologist as he studied first a bunch of lay mystics in Cyprus, and then he went on to study the mystical tradition of the elders of Mount Athos.
Hmm.
And his books, along with selections from other parts of Christian wisdom tradition, are going to be a guide to understanding how we should approach developing psychic gifts.
That sounds absolutely fascinating. This is going to be such a conference, and your contribution is going to be incredible. I'm really excited to hear what you've got to say on this. So, thank you very much for your time today, and really look forward to seeing you on the 28th of June.